And welcome back, students, to another lesson of CSS. We're going to continue building off of the stuff we touched with last time, but now we're going to explore into some other things, particularly working with the background of a web page. So up to this point, we've had pretty much a plain white, boring backdrop. But let's go ahead and look at how we can change that. So I'm going to start off here by saying, hey, I want to change the whole body of my web page. So before, if you remember, we did like body style equals background color, which is, is through HTML. But a better way to do it is, of course, through CSS. And so I'm going to go ahead and write CSS code to make the background color a different color. And all you got to do is start typing background, and you can see this background dash color in here. And then you just pick a color. So let's say I want to make this one blue. And you can see it'll easily make it blue. Or maybe I want to make the background black. It will make the background black. Or maybe I want to make the background to be something a little bit more, original. Maybe I want to do a purple background. Something like that. All right. Everything is that simple in how you can set it up. And you notice it's just similar to the CSS code that we worked with last time. Now, additionally, we don't have to simply just do CSS code for the one element. We're not limited to just doing to the body. Like I can come in here and set, for example, just the H1 tag to its own background color. And maybe I want to make that one, let's see if it'll do lavender. Okay. And you'll see that it changes this up here to a color lavender, and you'll notice it just surrounds the H1 element. Similarly, I could do the same thing for, let's say, paragraph text. Maybe I want to have paragraph have its own background color, and I could just come in here and say background color, and instead of maybe doing a specific color, you can also look up the hex code colors for them. So maybe I want to do a hex code color, so I'm just going to put pound symbol, and then it brings up the color palette here, and you can come through and you can manually sort, or if you know a color, you can go ahead and put those in there. And that's just a quick one that I just threw in there. And you can see how the paragraph is affected by that. Now, this works great if you want to just put in, let's say, just a color. But let's say I want to do an image, because you've visited websites occasionally where it's an image in the background rather than that of a color. So let's use an image here. So I'm going to do body again, and I'm going to choose to make my background. But instead of using background dash color, I use background dash image. And what I want to do is I want to put a URL in there, and I can go ahead and browse on my computer, put it in there, or I can type it in. But I'm going to use that draft.jpg that we used in an earlier lesson in HTML, since it's already in that folder for me. And of course, you can change it to be a different picture. It's not that hard to do. And you will see that it puts the image in there. And the only thing is, that image is very much already set to a certain scale. So however large the image is will be however large it appears in your web page. So if you have an image that's smaller than your viewing window, it's not going to take up the full web page. Or if you have an image that's larger than your viewing window, it's going to, obviously take over some of it. Now, there's a quick word of caution here. When you do put images in, you just have to be careful that the image, when you put it into your web page, does not make any text hard to read. Because sometimes you might have, like, for example, if you have black font, and then you have like a black point in your image, then those images are going to have trouble. Right. Now, let's say I had one of those things with a small image. There are two ways you can go ahead and do this. Right. You can go ahead and have the image scale through a repeat function. So you can just come in here, and this works really well too if you have gradients. You just add in here the command background dash repeat. Got my semicolon right here. And then you just tell it to, you can either choose to repeat X, or you can choose to have it repeat Y. Both of those are viable options. Now, you can also, of course, choose no repeat, which, of course, is kind of how the image is by default. It doesn't repeat over the axes. And by default, the image is kind of put up here in the top left corner, and then it scales out. So if you wanted to change where that image is positioned, there's another command, which is background-position. And you can choose to position that into a different spot. So maybe I want to have this centered. I can put that in there, and you can see now the image is centered. The only thing you might run into is you see here it starts to tile the image in my web page. Or maybe if you don't want it to be centered, maybe you want to maybe have it feed in from a different position. Maybe I want it to do from the bottom. All right, and you can see where that will spawn in there at. And if you don't have that code in there at all, again, that just kind of functions how it would by default. All right. And that concludes